Hi everyone, myself Vaibhav. In today's session, we are seeing the USDJPY finally entering into an consolidation phase with some downward bias. And I think this is the result of the overbought situation, which has resulted in USD finally taking a breather. And we will be trying to exploit this emerging scenario to our advantage. So let's get started for today's session of market movers. If we look at the data docket for the day, it is almost empty, so we won't really be going into the data releases. And if we take a look on the equity segment of the market, the US equity indices in particular are trading on the all-time highs. So the Monday has been a fabulous start for this week, and we have this reversal which started in the early part of last week continuing, and here we are seeing fresh equity index highs, the all-time highs for Wall Street. And as I reiterated while starting the session, the USD is taking a breather, and we will see what the technical analysis holds for today's session. So let's get started on the technical outlook. First, we will take a look on the USDJPY, and then we will also consider the Euro USD. So here the main theme is the weakness in the USD, and as a result of that, we are seeing some correction in USDJPY and some positive momentum, some upward bias in Euro USD. Let's start with the USDJPY's technical outlook first. This is the daily time frame chart, and after beating the break closer to this resistance zone, we saw this one-way rally happening in the USD JPY, which finally looks like stalling closer to the prior resistance, prior swing high. So here, these price zone are not exactly identical if we look at the highs, but fairly close enough to be used as a factor while deciding to trade in today's session. So here the price zone of around 105.5 is going to be crucial marker for USD JPY in the near term. And as long as it is trading below this price zone, I think it will be better for us to keep looking for scalping opportunities while trying to exploit the weakness in the USD JPY. And I'm not really talking from the longer term perspective. Here we are mainly concerned with the short term trades where the scalping will be in focus while keeping the stop losses and take profit fairly sharp to make sure that we don't really lose too much money in case of we being wrong. And if we happen to be right, then of course it should be the return should be in multiples of the risk we are taking. So looking at these lower time frame chart of 4 hourly, here you can find that we have first resistance of this multi-pivot point series coming into play around 105.5, and this is the price zone where the USD JPY has consolidated for more than a day now. If we look at the price action last week, by Thursday night it got here, and afterwards it has been trading in the range. And in today's session, after the start of the European trading session, we saw some weakness finally pushing the USD JPY lower. And as a result of that, we can surely say that USD JPY is struggling to hold above this first resistance. That gives us more reason for trying to look to short USD JPY closer to this resistance zone while anticipating further decline even towards 105 in a session or two. If we consider the technical formation, the regression curve has been in upward momentum, but now the price action has shifted to the lower band of this regression curve. And if we look at the pivot point series, then here the first resistance is proving a difficult hurdle to cross for the USD JPY. So keeping these factors in mind, we can indeed try to see if there are emerging opportunities on the lower time frames. Like hourly, we have these 50 SMA around 105.5, and I think in the near term, this is the price area closer to the 50 SMA, which can be utilized as a entry point for today's session. And on the higher side, the stop loss can be kept just little above these price marker. So stop loss is also going to be fairly sharp, and for a risk of around 15-20 pips, I think on the lower side we can target good enough profit of around 30 to 40 pips at the bare minimum. And if we do get the entry anywhere closer to or below the 105.5, and while keeping the stop loss of around 105.65, on the lower side, the price zone of around 105.10 or even 105 should be good enough for our risk reward ratio. And here the risk reward ratio will be coming better than 1 is to 2. And this is being looked at from the intraday perspective. So I'm not really talking not yet about the possible reversal from medium to longer time frame horizon. So we will have to wait here for a couple of days. Now moving on to the Euro USD's technical outlook. The Euro USD also seeing some buying on the lower side after getting this reversal in the Friday session. The Euro USD is continuing to add to those gains, and in today's session, it has found some buying momentum after the start of European trading session in particular. But if we consider its formation, the odds are still not as good as what we saw for the USDJPY. In case of Euro USD, we need to be more cautious. But here also, there are a couple of factors which can help us in deciding for the trading opportunities in Euro USD. If we look at the Fibonacci retracement levels, we saw the Euro USD sharply taking a turn for the higher side after getting closer to this 50% Fibonacci retracement. And even in today's session, it has been successful to hold above it. So that is one thing to watch out for. It might spend a couple of days more, or it might reverse from this price zone also. So both that probabilities are there, and we will have to see what are the price zones which can help us while deciding on the trade to take in the Euro USD. So on the lower side, we will have to rely on this first support of this month's pivot point series, which is there closer to 1.20. And as long as the Euro USD is holding well above this, I think we can be hopeful of further consolidation with buyers being turning on the higher side, that is being favorable for the long trades in the Euro USD. And if that happens, then from short to medium term perspective, I think we can even hope for the retracement in the Euro USD to continue towards these prior swing highs, the price zone closer to 1.217. And for us to make money, I think we don't even really need the Euro USD to rise to that extent. Even if it is able to give us some 50-60 pips, that should be good enough. So for pinpointing the entry and exit points, or you can say the price levels to watch out for, we will have to take into consideration the formation on the hourly time frame, where we have these two key SMAs acting as the near-term support. And I think this should be the price zone where we will have more favorable trading opportunities in the near term. If the Euro USD's price momentum is sustained, and if we eventually see the break above these 200 SMA, then in due course of time you can expect the 50 SMA to climb up, and it might climb fairly sharp if the price action sustains. And in that case, we can even hope for further upside momentum in the Euro USD. And for today's session, I think now moving forward also, we can utilize the day's low, which is there around 1.202, to be utilized as a decisive marker. So as long as Euro USD is holding well above it, we can continue to look for buying trade anywhere closer to the price band of 1.204 to 1.205. We have already seen some sharp move on the higher side. So because of that, we will have to be cautious. But the Trading setup in the Euro USD is looking more favorable for the short-term long trade than short trade, and as a result of that, it will be better to look for the buying opportunity in today's session while keeping the stop loss anywhere below this 1.200 line. So we will have to rely on this 50 SMA line as our near-term marker. And on the higher side, the price entry can be worked around 1.204 or 1.205, depending on the consolidation which we will have to observe in the Euro USD. And on the higher side, the prior swing highs can be targeted in case if we see the break sustaining in Euro USD, or for near term, we can even be satisfied with the price zone of around 1.210. So that's it from my side for today's session of Euro USD in market movers. And if any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write to me in the feedback section, and I would be more than happy to take the discussion forward. Before I sign off, I would also like to remind of the risk associated with trading in the financial instrument, and one should be careful while using the information provided. Have a fabulous day ahead. Do subscribe to the Lucoscopy webinar channel to stay updated on the market developments. Goodbye.